Okay, I need you to be honest with me for a second. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly people go quiet? Like, not normal quiet. That weird kind of silence where you're like, wait, was I the topic just now? Or someone meets you, smiles, but there's this tension in their face. They're polite, but slightly uncomfortable. And you're just standing there thinking, I literally did nothing. Yeah. That might not be in your head. Because here's the thing no one really tells you. Sometimes, you're not being misunderstood. You're being felt. And for some people, your presence is a little too much to process. Not because you're loud, not because you're aggressive, but because something about you makes people see themselves more clearly than they want to. And that can be intimidating. So today, we're breaking down 9 surprising signs that you might be intimidating people without even realizing it. And some of these, you're gonna recognize instantly. Others might explain your entire life. Let's get into it. 1. You're comfortable with silence. You know what most people do when things get quiet? They panic. They fill the space with random words, awkward laughter, anything to avoid that stillness. But you can just sit there, no pressure, no rush to speak. You're okay with pauses. And that alone makes people uneasy, because silence is revealing. When there's no noise, people start hearing themselves, their thoughts, their insecurities, their doubts. And when you're sitting there calm, grounded, it almost feels like you're watching. Even if you're not, it's like, why are they so comfortable right now? What are they thinking? Do they see something I don't? And suddenly, you've said nothing, but you've taken control of the room. 2. You see through people. Let's be real. You pick up on things, the fake smile, the forced confidence, the hidden tension in someone's voice. You notice patterns, you notice inconsistencies, and you don't even try that hard. It just happens. Now here's the part people won't admit. They can feel that. Even if you never call them out. There's something about the way you look at them, like you're not just hearing their words, you're reading what's behind them. And that's uncomfortable. Because most people survive socially by wearing masks, and when someone shows up who can see past the mask, it creates pressure, not spoken, but felt. 3. You don't seek approval. This one really throws people off, because most social interactions are built on this invisible agreement. I'll like you, if you like me. But you're not playing that game. You're respectful, you're kind, but you're not trying. You're not bending yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You don't over-explain yourself. You don't chase validation. And when people sense that, they don't know where they stand with you, which makes them try harder, or pull away completely. Because here's the truth. People feel safest around those they can influence. And you're not easily influenced. 4. You set boundaries without drama. You don't need to argue. You don't need to raise your voice. You just say no, or I'm not okay with that. And that's it. No long explanations. No emotional breakdown. Just clarity. And weirdly enough, that scares people more than anger. Because anger they can react to. But calm boundaries, that's solid. That's unshakable. And people who are used to crossing lines suddenly feel exposed. 5. Your presence feels intense. You don't even have to speak. Sometimes it's just the way you are. Focused, aware, grounded. People feel it. It's like when you're around, everything becomes a little more real. And not everyone likes that. Some people want light, easy, surface-level energy. But you bring depth. And depth requires honesty. And honesty can feel heavy. So instead of rising to meet you, some people shrink away. 6. You speak less, but mean more. You're not the loudest person in the room. You don't talk just to talk. But when you do speak, people listen, because your words land. They're precise, intentional, and sometimes a little too accurate. Like when you say something and the whole group goes quiet for a second. Yeah, that moment. It's not awkward. It's impact. 7. You're emotionally self-controlled. You don't react instantly. You observe first. You process. You don't let every little thing pull you into chaos. And people who are used to emotional reactions don't know what to do with that, because they can't predict you. They can't trigger you easily, and that makes them feel out of control. 8. You don't chase anyone. You value connection, but you don't chase it. If someone pulls away, you let them. If someone disappears, you notice, but you don't run after them, and this flips the script, because most people are used to being pursued. So when you don't chase, they start wondering, wait, why aren't they trying? Did I lose them? Do they not care? And the answer is simple. You do care. You just don't force. 9. You trigger insecurity in others. This one's the hardest to accept, but it explains everything. Sometimes people don't react to you. They react to what you remind them of. Their lack of discipline, their lack of confidence, their lack of self-awareness. And when someone stands in front of them who quietly has those things, it creates tension, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your presence highlights what they're avoiding. And most people don't consciously understand that. They don't sit there thinking, wow, this person is exposing my insecurities. No, it's more subtle than that. It's a feeling, a discomfort they can't explain, a slight pressure in the chest, a sudden urge to withdraw, or to act overly confident, or to make jokes, or to shift the attention away. And you might notice it like, why did the energy change when I walked in? Or, why did they seem fine before, but now they're different with me? And here's the truth most people miss. You didn't change the room, you revealed the room. Because people are constantly living inside versions of themselves they've built for survival. Some people built confidence that isn't real confidence. It's performance. Some people built friendliness that hides insecurity. It's protection. Some people built silence that hides fear of judgment. It's armor. And then someone like you walks in, not trying to expose anything, just existing. And suddenly those layers feel visible, not to you, to them. And that's where the tension comes from. So if you've ever felt like people misunderstand you, or pull away for no clear reason, or treat you like you're too much, maybe you're not too much, maybe you're just clear, and clarity can feel intimidating in a world that is deeply used to emotional noise. Because confusion is comfortable for many people. Confusion lets them hide. Confusion lets them avoid accountability. Confusion lets them stay unchanged. But clarity removes hiding places. And not everyone is ready for that. So when you show up grounded, when you speak honestly, when you don't chase validation, when you don't shrink your opinions, when you sit comfortably in silence, you unintentionally become a mirror, and mirrors are not always comfortable, because a mirror doesn't attack you, it doesn't judge you, it just shows you, exactly as you are. And for someone who hasn't faced themselves in a long time, that can feel overwhelming. The real question isn't, why do people feel this way about me? Because that question assumes something is wrong with you, and that's not always the case. The more important question is, what exactly are they reacting to in themselves when they react to me? Because sometimes it's not about you at all. It's about what you represent. Discipline they abandoned. Confidence they haven't built. Emotional control they struggle with. Self-respect they keep delaying. And when someone stands in front of them who quietly has those things, it creates tension. Not because you're superior, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because your existence highlights contrast, and contrast forces awareness, and awareness is not always comfortable. Some people grow from it, some people resist it, some people avoid it entirely. That's why the same presence can feel inspiring to one person and intimidating to another. It's not about your energy being good or bad. It's about what it activates in them. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, or like your presence is too much in certain spaces, there's a deeper possibility here. You may simply be standing in your own alignment, and not everyone has met that version of you yet, or even met that version of themselves, and that's where things get interesting. Because here's something worth sitting with. People don't just respond to how you act. They respond to what your presence makes them feel about themselves. Not what you say, not what you do, but the feeling that shows up in them when you're around. And most of the time, people can't even explain it. They just feel it. That's why some people will connect with you instantly, like there's no resistance, no awkwardness, no overthinking, and others will feel distant without any clear reason, not because you changed, not because you did something wrong, but because different people are meeting different reflections of themselves through you. And that brings us to something important. You don't have to shrink yourself to be accepted, but you also don't need to force yourself to be understood by everyone. Because understanding is not universal, and connection is not automatic. Some people will meet you and feel calm, like they can breathe again, like they don't have to perform, like they don't have to adjust their personality just to be accepted. Those are your people, and you'll recognize them easily. There's no tension, no confusion, just ease. But others will meet you and feel something different. They might feel a quiet tension, like they need to adjust themselves, or become more guarded, or prove something, or defend who they are. And that's not always conscious, it just happens. And instead of calling it what it is, they might step back, or misinterpret you, or create distance. But that's not rejection, that's information, just clarity, and slowly something becomes very clear. You are not here to fit into every room. You are here to belong in the rooms. That don't require you to become smaller, because the truth is, the same presence that feels intense to some people will feel like peace to the right ones. The same energy that makes one person uncomfortable will make another person feel seen, understood, safe, and real. And those people, they won't feel threatened by you. They won't feel judged by you. They won't feel exposed by you. They'll feel something else entirely. They'll feel understood. Not because you're trying to fix them, not because you're performing for them, but because your presence allows them to finally stop performing themselves. And that kind of connection is rare. It's not loud. It's not chaotic. It doesn't need validation from anyone else. It just exists. Quiet. Stable. Real. So maybe the goal was never to become less intense. Maybe the goal was to become more intentional, to understand your presence, to understand your impact, to understand that you are not just seen, you are felt. And once you understand that, you stop trying to shrink yourself for comfort, and you start choosing spaces that match your truth. And if any part of this felt a little too accurate, just drop a comment. Not because I need it, but because sometimes people realize they've been carrying the same experience in silence, and it helps to know they're not the only ones who notice it. I read them. I actually do. And yeah, if you want more videos like this, you already know what to do.